It's raining on me. Okay.
What's going on, guys? It's K-Dub here with another episode of CryptoZombie. Welcome back to the channel. Hope you're having an awesome day today. Bitcoin and cryptocurrencies having a beautiful start to the week. Plenty of green across the board in the top coins as well as the altcoins. You can see right now as I'm making this video, Bitcoin is once again trying for the second time since this morning to break above the $11,000 level. Will we be able to do it today? What is happening with traditional markets as well? There are actually a lot of investors right now that are saying, be careful, watch out in the traditional space. However, some of them are actually pretty bullish on Bitcoin. We'll get into that, but we do have a very important monthly close coming up in just 2 days. I talked about the severity of these levels yesterday, and we're going to have to see how this plays out. So I do want to talk about the fact that Bitcoin has actually broken a record for the most consecutive days ever above $10,000. What that means for Bitcoin? Well, we just had confirmation on a bullish indicator that I told you guys about 3 days ago. Well, we finally had confirmation today. Lots of interesting things we're going to go over. I want to talk about that. I want to also discuss the fact that we have Bitcoin balances on exchanges, the lowest that we have ever seen since November of 2018, which pretty much was the bottom of the bear market. So how should we interpret this data? We'll get into that. And I also want to talk about some sort of DeFi caution. Let's just say that. Decentralized finance warnings moving forward into this next potential altcoin cycle. And if all that sounds good to you, you know what to do. If you are not subscribed, well, definitely consider it. And before we get into the charts, I just wanted to say, by the way, Bitcoin mooning is not something new. Somebody on Reddit actually pointed out this article that was posted on September 27th of 2010, where someone actually talks about the maximum of 21 million Bitcoin in circulation. No one will be able to do a helicopter bend. Either Bitcoins are going to catch on and their value is going to skyrocket to the moon, or they will wither on the vine. Just keep in mind, Bitcoin was 11 cents when this article was posted. So when you think Bitcoin can't go to 10,000, can't go to 100,000, can't go to 1,000,000, well, just think about what people were saying when it was 11 cents. And now look at it today, right? So let's dive in. Let's have a look. Interestingly enough, Bitcoin is having a beautiful green weekly start right here. We have a nice weekly candle. You can see we are above the $10,773 level that we were looking at to sort of flip that as our sort of heart line of the sideways resistance and support, right? Now, having a look right here, look at this. We're trying to break out of this lower half of this sort of asymmetric triangle, and you can see right here, Bitcoin could potentially be trying to break up to 11,500 on futures, but be careful because we do have to get above this resistance right here, right? But like Don Alt said, you know, having a look at the monthly, it pretty much just looks like Bitcoin is having a nice retest of that support, and like I said pretty much yesterday, as long as we can close above this level, and if we zoom in right now, Bitcoin is holding above it. 2 more days, closing above that $10,700 level will be absolutely huge for Bitcoin, and we would literally be putting in another higher high on the chart. Or, well, not a higher high. We'd have to actually close higher than August's candle, but, you know, it would still be very bullish for Bitcoin. Let's just say that because we closed above a significant level. So wouldn't be higher than last month, but still would be very, very good on the overall macro chart. And, you know, one thing that I want to point out is the fact that, you know, we used to have these exchange hacks and FUD and things like that, and you would just see prices absolutely tanking and crashing. And after KuCoin got hacked, there really wasn't much of an effect on the Bitcoin or Ethereum price. And also, a lot of the altcoins handled it quite well as well. A lot of the projects were very good with some of them did, you know, contract swaps, etc. But basically, yeah, looks like the FUD really isn't affecting the markets as much as it used to. And also, we finally had confirmation on the miners position index. We said, you know, once it starts to get to that 0 level is usually the start of major rallies. You can see all of the red circles right here that show every time that we crossed into the positive correlation, into the positive number value. And yeah, I mean, right here, if I zoom in, you can see we just crossed it and we're at 0.036 at the time of this snapshot. So could this be the beginning of a major Bitcoin rally? Well, why don't we talk about the fact that Bitcoin closed Sunday at $10,793, setting a record 63 consecutive daily closes above $10,000. Now, keep in mind that Bitcoin's previous record was 62 days that it stayed above 10,000, and that lasted from December 1st, 2017 through January 31st of 2018. Now, this is when Bitcoin broke its all-time high. And if you don't think the price of Bitcoin can move fast, well, just go back and check the chart in December. We had Bitcoin moving $2,000, $3,000 in a week. We got from 10,000 all the way to 20,000 in like 6 weeks total, I think it was. This market can get crazy when things start moving. According to Coinmetrics, we do have 180-day return volatility for Bitcoin plummeting 41% so far as well in September. But let's talk about balances on exchanges. We have the balance of major Bitcoin exchanges hitting its lowest levels since November 2018, the bottom of the bear market. So how should we be interpreting this data? Is this something to be bearish about? Is this something to be bullish about? Or is it actually maybe not bullish or bearish, but just related to something that's been going on in the markets recently, being DeFi? Well, let's analyze that. So the difference is between the last time that we had it when Bitcoin was in the depths of its crypto winter, right now we are actually seeing Bitcoin doing quite well. So we have the same amount on exchanges, but Bitcoin in a very different predicament. Now, low Bitcoin balances on centralized exchanges do not necessarily imply a bearish market trend. In fact, it could reflect a bullish view from Bitcoin holders as they move longer term holding strategies, such as moving into cold storage, putting your cryptos on a hardware wallet, saying, I'm hodling. And when you look at the overall chart of Bitcoin, anyone that bought lower than, where we are today is in profit, which is well over 90% of the total span of Bitcoin's life. You'd pretty much be in profit if you bought Bitcoin at any of those times, right? According to Mike Alfred, CEO of Digital Assets Data, there's no reason to sell now when you have large corporate treasuries like MicroStrategy buying the asset. Why would you be selling when you're at the beginning of a wave of potential corporate treasuries and institutional investors coming in? So think about it. That could be the situation. People could just be saying, hey, this thing's got a lot more to go. I'm just going to hodl it. Now, here's the other thing. Arcane Research says it also could be the fact that we've seen the rise of DeFi, right? And because a lot of people have been getting involved in decentralized finance, getting into all these different altcoins, well, that could be why sort of people have been, and not so much Bitcoin has been on exchanges, because actually a lot of people are just holding altcoins and doing a lot of, Uniswap trades and things like that, right? Others at the same time think it could just be the fact that a lot of these institutional investors don't really want to use things like Binance, right? They use more of a, I guess you could say, white glove approach to things, or there's a lot of OTC, which maybe is not being reflected, which, by the way, I don't actually have it up today, but there's a cryptocurrency that we talked about on this channel, and I think it's going to be one of the best possible altcoins to hedge against the Bitcoin market dominance, compared to Bitcoin dominance and altcoin dominance. We've spoke about it, but I'm going to go into more detail in a bit on that. I'll tell you what it is, guys. It's XBTC. Just check it out. But we're going to do some coverage on it because I actually think it's an incredible cryptocurrency, and it really helps you to sort of hedge your risk without having exposure to all those altcoins. But we'll talk about that later today. I actually got some stuff I got to do. I didn't even know if I was going to get a video out today, but I had to bring you guys the good news because you're actually seeing these traditional guys like Peter Brandt, for example. He made this tweet, this is 13 hours ago. He says, I don't view buying silver as a trade in the same way as my typical swing trades. And he talks even about buying physical silver. Rather, I view it as transferring a portion of net worth from corruptible US dollars. And someone down here actually said, what about Bitcoin, Peter? And he says, I view Bitcoin similarly as a store of value. The ability for Bitcoin to serve as a reserve currency remains to be seen. And Toby says if you hold gold, silver as a store of value, it wouldn't make any sense to not hold Bitcoin and the other way around, right? Now, lots of people say Bitcoin is potentially the better choice, better than physical gold or silver, right? In fact, Mike Novogratz made a comment recently. He said, I think it's a really dangerous time to be in the market. Now, he's talking about the traditional market. He says, I've taken a lot of risk down and kind of waiting for better, more clarity and better entry points. I do think selling the dollar will be a trend that continues. Now, on the subject of Bitcoin, he highlighted that Bitcoin has some correlation to the NASDAQ and the S&P, but he did say, I don't believe that that is a lasting correlation. And in my video from 2 days ago, I showed you on-chain data that Willy Woo was pointing out. Well, some of it was on-chain, some of it was off-chain, but basically comparing Bitcoin to sort of how it's starting to get decoupled, right, from gold and the traditional markets. And he says if the NASDAQ fell 5% today, Bitcoin would probably be lower, not higher, but I think you're going to see those correlations breaking down. He says the macro story is so promising for shorting the dollar, going long gold and going long crypto, and we are seeing more and more adoption. And when they asked him about owning Bitcoin, he said, yes, the average investor should have 1% to 3% of their portfolio in Bitcoin. It is an amazing hedge. And he also went in to talk about gold and the reason why he prefers Bitcoin over gold. He says, I think gold and Bitcoin are very similar assets. Why I like Bitcoin better is that it's much earlier in the adoption cycle. If you want to buy gold, you know how to buy gold. It's still a pain in the rear to buy Bitcoin. I disagree. I think it's very easy to buy Bitcoin, but maybe your first time it's complicated, whatever. Anyway, so he says there are firms like ours and Fidelity that are pretty much trying to make it easier for people to buy and own Bitcoin and feel safe about owning Bitcoin. And interestingly enough, while believing that the price of gold will rise, Mike Novogratz expects Bitcoin's price to increase to $50,000 in 2 years. Now, if you think $50,000 sounds crazy, let's talk about Raoul Pal. He is Real Vision CEO and former Goldman Sachs manager, and I'm going to tell you why he shifted 50% of his portfolio in Bitcoin, and he thinks that we could see a $1 million Bitcoin. Now, I know these numbers sound astronomical, but just think about the blog post when Bitcoin was 11 cents and think about people saying Bitcoin would go to $1,000 and also think about how crazy that probably sounded. Now, the one thing you need to realize is when we talk about Bitcoin going to these crazy prices, you don't only have to just consider the price that people are willing to pay for a Bitcoin. You also have to take into consideration that we have inflation. The dollar is losing its value. It's losing its purchasing power every time Powell and the Fed decide to pump, more money, more stimulus, whatever you want to call it, injecting liquidity into the markets, right? And this causes the dollar to devalue, and this basically causes things like Bitcoin to go up in value. So if, the dollar loses 100%, it's already lost, 95% since like 1913, then when you look at it from that perspective, it's very easy to see how something like Bitcoin could actually go a lot higher. He says, getting back to Raoul Pal, sorry, little side rant there. He says, I'm now just firmly of the opinion that Bitcoin is the world's greatest reserve asset. Yes, we have too much volatility for right now, but I can't fault it. But as the foundation stone for everything, it's got a bloody good chance. I don't see anything that's going to come on the horizon or that exists already that has as good of a chance as Bitcoin. If you look at the supply of gold, it's 2% a year. So they are devaluing gold by about 2% a year because the demand is not offsetting the supply. And if you compound that, it's basically the rate of inflation, right? The dollar loses 2 to 3% annually, except for back in July when it lost around 4% in a month. But, hey, that was a specific situation that was happening. So he says if you compound that, you're actually losing purchasing power even if you own gold. He says, I have looked at everything versus the top 4 central bank balance sheets in terms of rates of chance of growth. Gold did well. It underperformed by 50% the balance sheet, but the only asset in the world that has actually outperformed the G4 balance sheet is Bitcoin. I repeat, it is the only one. Think about that. How could you not be exposed to this thing? How is Bitcoin not going to skyrocket? How are we not going to see a 50,000, 100,000, 288,000 Plan B Bitcoin, right? Well, Raul Pal says he believes that Bitcoin is in the early stages of a fresh bull run, and ultimately he thinks that the price of Bitcoin could in fact reach $1 million. So let me know if you agree. Do you think Bitcoin will hit $1 million? Just think about what owning one Bitcoin, just one Bitcoin today, could do in the future. And by the way, yesterday I made a mistake on my math. I was very embarrassed. So it was 88% of the supply that's been out. I said 22% remains. I don't know how I did that math really quick. It's obviously 12%. 88 plus 12 is 100. Not sure why I said 22. Thank you for everybody that pointed out how bad my math skills were yesterday, but it's okay. We all make mistakes. But speaking of something I do want to talk about, though, is DeFi here to stay? Well, every day I check this chart, it just seems like there's more and more and more value locked into DeFi. And today you can see we're actually up at $11.16 billion. So is the DeFi train derailed? Not even close, guys. But I do want to just make one word of caution, and that is the fact that, we did see that crazy yield farming extravaganza craze. Everybody was yield farming all these different vegetable tokens and everything else. Well, now it looks like the next sort of craze could potentially be what is sort of being known as sort of deflationary yield farming, and Core is a project that came out. It shot up in 24 hours to a $40 million market cap, and then it dumped 70% in a day. So just be very careful. I'm not saying don't go farm Core. I don't really know what Core is. It could be the next greatest coin on the planet. But what I am saying is we're probably going to see a lot of these new fads coming in. Just be safe. Stop trying to chase the hype. You know what I'm saying? You're probably going to get burned if you try to hop into everything. It's a lot better to just sort of do your own fundamental research, find something that you believe in, get involved in that, and then you're more likely to hold through the ups and downs. When you do try to chase the craze, you buy into a token, it dips 70%. If you're farming it, that's probably okay. But if you're using the token itself for liquidity or you're buying it, be careful, because the token can lose value very quick. We've seen lots of these tokens absolutely plummeting 70%, 80%, 90%, right? Just want to say be safe, not saying don't go buy Core. I don't know much about it, but I saw this, wanted to bring it up. Be safe out there, all right? And of course, my friends, it is the end of the not the end, it's actually the beginning of the week, which means we have to give away a Ledger Nano S. So let's hop over and we will go to our random number generator. We had 6 videos last week. I did have to take a day off, unfortunately. So that is video number 2. And that was the ETF that wasn't actually the US ETF, but it was an ETF nonetheless. So let's go over here. Let us do our comments, and we will give away a Ledger Nano S. By the way, guys, if you want to get a Ledger Nano S, in the comments below pinned, you can actually get 21% off family packs if you want. Those are in my links below in the description, but drum roll please for the free Ledger Nano S. Blood in the streets. Well, on that day, Federico, there was some blood in the streets, but you guys know any comment makes you a winner. You have 24 hours to hit me up. If you don't, we'll be giving it away in the next video to somebody else. So thank you so much for coming back to the channel. Remember, only go to the official About section, email me, or hit me up in Telegram. Do not go down in the comments. Lots of scammers down there, people pretending to be me. Very scary place to be. Please be safe. Also, lots of YouTube scam ads still running. Really wish they would get rid of that, but that's it for me, guys. Thank you so much. It is Monday. Appreciate you guys coming back to the channel. I love you. You're the reason that I do this every single day, and I actually got a video out today, and I didn't think I was going to be able to. So look at that. So thanks again. My name's K-Dub. This is CryptoZombie. Until next time, stay crypto, and of course, peace out.